Welcome to this month's edition of Third Eye View with me, Phil Roberts, and my colleague Claire Rees. Now, usually each month we look at what's happening in the UK fin crime landscape, but as it's been a relatively quiet month, instead we're taking a global view. So Claire, what's been going on in the world?
Oh, it's been busy, Phil. In February, the FATF plenary met in Mexico City. The outcomes of the most recent meeting included a commitment to focus on fraud over the coming years in recognition of significant evolving fraud threats. And additionally, the high-risk jurisdictions list was updated. So Papua New Guinea and Kuwait have been added to the jurisdictions under increased monitoring. And whenever the FATF list changes, so does the UK's high-risk third country list. And if we're in high-risk third country territory, enhanced due diligence is not a maybe, it's required. So a reminder to firms out there, if you have customers established, funds coming from, beneficial owners linked, or transactions connected to high-risk jurisdictions, then you should be applying enhanced due diligence.
So one of the key drivers for financial crime is corruption, which brings us on to the next global update. While the FATF looks at AML and CTF frameworks, the Corruption Perceptions Index measures perceived public corruption. Quite relevant today. Why should financial institutions care about that?
Countries that score poorly in the Corruption Perceptions Index tend to struggle with things like PEP oversight and procurement integrity. These weaknesses can create the perfect setting for money laundering, bribery, and sanctions evasion. And the latest index is a gloomy picture. It shows global stagnation or decline in many jurisdictions. And this trend is important because exposure to weak environments increases exposure to financial crime and also to reputational and regulatory risk.
Indeed. And so what should firms be doing with this information?
Well, to find some good news, it's good news for anyone who loves risk assessments, Phil. Publications such as these are really good trigger events to review your financial crime risk assessment. Risk assessments should be dynamic, and that includes your geographic risk scoring. So FATF and CPI trends are important factors in that scoring, and corruption risk should be seen as strategic risk, affecting not just customer risk scoring, but also correspondent banking relationships, capital allocation, and long-term market strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the FATF tells us where AML systems are structurally weak, and the perception index or corruption perception index tells us where governance pressures are rising. And taken together, they provide a forward-looking lens on financial crime exposure, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do love risk assessments, it's a good day. If you're less keen and you're in need of support with your risk assessment, then keep an eye on ThirdEye. We've recently been talking to some industry experts about the highlights and lowlights of financial crime risk assessments, and we'll be sharing the output from that work soon.
Good plug, Claire. Well, watch this space. Yeah, there's some quite interesting and informative content coming out in the not too distant future. It's perfect. Well, I think that's a wrap for this month's edition. So you can find links to everything we've talked about today in the blog that accompanies this episode. And as always, if you have questions, thoughts, or feedback, we'd love to hear from you.
So thank you for listening. Please like and share, and we will be back next month with the next episode of Third Eye View.